Great.
Oh my gosh.
Sam, did you hear that? Hmm.
Season 2 of Iron Fist. I still haven't started it yet.
You haven't? I started in 2 episodes.
How is it so far? Is it better than
Not
season 1?
bad. It seems better. It's still, slow going because it's the first couple episodes.
Right. Slow's fine. Is he less whiny and more... You know the
He
real Iron Fist,
seems,
right?
yes, I do. That was my
Okay.
biggest pet peeve about season 1. I'm just like,
Mine too.
who
I'm like,
is
this is
this?
not Iron... This is not
Like,
Iron
he's
Fist, right?
supposed to be, yeah, when he comes out from Kunlun, he's supposed to already be,
Right.
like
And it was
master,
like...
not like a whiny
I was
little
like...
beehole.
Yeah. Right. Something matured him. Something in his chi is different, which is the way it's supposed to be. And I saw that in the Luke Cage episode that he was in. And Luke Cage is like, "You're different. You better now?"
Yeah,
And
I
he's
didn't
like,
get to see
"I
Luke
am centered."
Cage.
And he's so calm and collected. And it's like,
Finally.
yeah, he's trying to calm down Luke Cage and tell him to center himself. And of course, Luke Cage becomes like really centered and grounded, and then the end of the season. But we won't go there until you've watched it.
What, Luke Cage?
Yes.
I am not gonna watch Luke Cage. I could barely get through like 2 episodes of Luke Cage.
Season 1 gets
And
really good.
I only forced myself through the first Iron Fist because I knew it was gonna have a lot to do with the Defenders, and I was like,
Season
like, I
1
like
of
the
Luke
idea of the
Cage ends
character.
strong, but
Yeah.
Jessica Jones, I had to fight my way through Jessica Jones until the last 3 episodes. The last 3 episodes, I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing!" But
I
and
love
season
Jessica
2 was
Jones.
good. I thought season 2 all the way around was good for Jessica Jones.
It wasn't too bad. I was not expecting it to be as good as it was because I don't
Yeah,
know. Sometimes they do second seasons just like, yeah,
right.
but
Second season was better than that.
yeah.
You know what? A second season was better. Is the first season of Daredevil was awesome. Second
Put
season
these
of
to use
Daredevil was
immediately. Thank you
phenomenal,
for recovering.
and the first season of The Punisher was great.
I have not got to watch The Punisher yet, so I will
Ooh,
have to put that
okay,
on
so you
my
saw-
to watch list.
You saw season 2 of Daredevil, right?
Yes, I have.
So you saw plenty of The Punisher. He's just like that in his own thing. It's
Yeah,
great.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just a lot. I have a hard time watching those ones because obviously it's a TV show. They're gonna like dramatize stuff and talk a lot about their feeling. Blah, 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 blah.
It is kind of liberal.
So-
Like a lot of their viewpoints and stuff are kind of liberalized, and I cringe once in a while when they say things because people are listening to that and just feeding on it. Like, oh yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
just
sheep,
like,
sheep to the liberal
yeah.
agenda slaughter. You know?
Yeah, and I'm just like, all right. I mean, I'm a big like Marvel fan, so I kind of like push myself through it. Just like, okay.
I'm really worried
get
about
better.
the Miss Marvel movie because
Are you?
right now, Brie Larson is on this huge feminist anti-man kick,
Whatever, I don't
And-
care. She can
and
tell
she-
man whatever she wants.
she made like a bunch of comments like, we need to have an all-female Marvel cast, and
Well,
she's
they
really
already
adamant
planned
about it
that.
because it's like, well, first of all, like the female characters that they've introduced, there's no reason for them to work together, especially without any of the male counterparts. There's no good story to introduce that. It makes no sense.
They had
And a lot of
talked
people
about
made-
doing it.
They had talked about it, yeah, and it's like there's no all male only Marvel cast. It's always been a bunch of male heroes and female heroes. There aren't as many female heroes in the Marvel universe, but
Yeah, no, not in the.
even when the
not in
Avengers first
cinematic
started,
one.
right? Even when the original Avengers formed, one of the founding members and the one that came up with a name was Wasp. So, you know, even in its inception, same thing with Fantastic Four. There was always Sue Storm. There's
Yeah.
always been, but there's never been just a male cast only, or just a female cast. The Defenders have always had Jessica Jones. Like, there's always been
Yeah,
female
they
members.
always diverse it. I mean.
So her
she
making
just
these
wants
comments,
more.
because she believes that the worst part about Marvel is they haven't done a female only, because she feels that it's all men, and it's never been that way.
It is majority-wise, yes, and
Majority-wise, but that's because the majority of the fan base had been guys,
boys.
especially
Yeah, kids. Like,
yeah.
you know, comic books weren't really read by a lot of women.
No, and
So-
back in the day when Captain America, Shazam, and Superman first came out, in the early 1940s, they were made for U.S. troops to help inspire them. And that's why Captain America and Superman fought Hitler. That's how they started. So it was actually for our troops as a way to,
Give
you know,
more,
get
yeah.
a morale boost. So if you want to, and a lot of the heroes started that way. A lot of guys came back and kept reading comic books. You know,
Yeah.
that's the biggest reason why there's more guys. But her agenda is very strong, like anti. It's kind of like too much,
You've driven them
and it's
back.
pushing
Kind of
something
what
that's
the
not true,
society
attack.
is, anyways. Now,
which is not. It's not healthy.
whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of
I'm-
things that we can avoid. I'm less worried about that than a lot of other crap going on. Yeah, I don't like her
true.
opinion,
Yeah.
and I mean, I honestly
I just
wouldn't
hope the
mind
movie isn't
having
full.
main,
right.
like a more focused feminine one. That wouldn't bother me too much. But
It doesn't
I don't
bother
think-
me
I
at
don't
all,
think
like,
it would
it's her
work very
statement.
well. You know what I mean? Like you said,
No.
we have a lot of things going for all these other heroes.
Yeah.
And
Like,
we have,
I'm perfectly happy with a Widowmaker movie, a Black Widow movie.
Black
I'm,
Widow, yeah, we've been waiting
would be
for it
awesome.
forever.
right.
I mean, and she's been part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You know, it's not like she's getting tossed in. I mean, I wouldn't mind
Now
the
is
Wasp
your
would be
chance.
bad as a female
Finish
to
this
join in.
fight.
You know, because she's part of it now.
Absolutely.
Obviously Captain Marvel. We have Black Widow.
But if they make
Scarlet
a
Witch
movie,
sticks around.
if they make a movie and they get all liberal in it, and the only movie so far that kind of had those tones really that I've seen was the Spider-Man movie, where the new one, Homecoming, where they had a couple
Every
scenes
victory we weaken
that had
legions
some
away from
comments
these worlds.
and the forced racial diversity cast, where it was very minor and it wasn't a big deal. And if you hadn't read the director's viewpoints and why they did it, it wouldn't even matter. But if you've read like the director's viewpoints and why they did it, that's the only reason why it even irritates me, is because they threw that in there purposely, because it's their political point of view and they wanted to make that known.
Oh, like what? Please tell me, because I must have missed it.
You know the girl, she makes the comment how, I'm not following you guys, I'm gonna go protest instead.
Oh, yes.
Protest the government. He goes, it's your right, go do it. It's like, no, she's part of a debate team. She needs to stay with her class and not be a rebellious little punk raging against the machine kind of thing. And it's like,
I did kind of notice that, and I'm just like, I just ignored it. I'm like, whatever.
it's
Like,
not
it's
bad when it's
annoying.
really minor.
It's just one of those little annoying things that are just like,
Yeah, it's like, you guys can
But they
keep
did
this
a
out.
fairly good job on like how obviously they couldn't play the whole like, Peter Parker's backstory, blah blah blah. Like,
I
makes
don't
sense.
like the suit being made by
I didn't either.
Tony
but
Stark
the
having.
the reason that they said they did that was to get him up to speed, like he'd done it so much. We'd seen where he'd built all this stuff several other times, but we needed him to have the suit. Is kind of how they
Yeah.
put it.
Yeah.
Like, we all
And
know he
it
could
gave
make
us the
stuff.
Iron Spider in the new movie, so.
Yeah. Like, they just had to get him up to speed with the rest of the Avengers. And we all know he could have done it on his own. It was just, at that point, you couldn't, like, roll that in really fast. The best way to do it was just, you know, and to help him along. I just didn't like how much Iron Man was in the new Spider-Man, but I kind of understood it.
I mean, they had to play it that way because that's the way the Marvel Universe and the Cinematic Universe is going,
That's
where
how it is,
Iron
yeah,
Man
so-
has been a very big focus on starting up the Avengers and being the main focus of what's going to happen. He's going to die in the next movie.
Well, we all know that, but I think it's
And I think
also,
Captain America's going to die too.
Well, I think what's going on is they haven't named the next movie because I think it's like something to do with like the new Avengers or rolling into something like that. And I think
Yes,
like we
I think
obviously
it's
had
gonna
our
be led
main
by-
four. We obviously had Thor, Captain America, Iron Man, and Hulk. And I think somehow like their roles kind of in their positions are gonna roll over to the next kind of people.
Yeah.
Like I think
Well, they've introduced almost every single member of the next Avengers, which Captain Marvel and Spider-Man lead.
Yep, and
They
I
become the
think-
leaders of the next Avengers. So I think they're setting them up for that. I'm a big fan of the Captain Marvel from, you know, the 80s and 90s Captain Marvel. She was always one of my favorites.
Yeah, especially because I started reading some of the books like Miss Marvel, and then it rolled into the Captain Marvel series, and I read a bunch of it.
Yeah,
so-
I should say Miss Marvel, but that confuses everyone whenever I say it.
It does. It's
Because there's another Miss Marvel now.
Yes, her name's Kamala Khan, and I haven't read any of her stuff, but I've been at least
They-
just poking
they-
here and there just to
Yeah.
see what it's about. She's super.
They
stretchy.
yeah, she's super stretchy. She has
Diversity.
elongation ability.
This broken land.
And they made her
Take no
Muslim because they
prisoners.
want people to
Strike
be
down every
diversified.
fiend
So
you
Yeah,
they,
see.
no, I get it, but
yeah, it's fine.
And-
She's okay. She's kind of like a Mr. Fantastic, but
And I think what it was, they have to keep the what do you call it? Like the name Miss Marvel, and they have to use it every like 5 years or something. But they can't keep it on. It was really confusing. I was watching a video about it. Like they can't keep it on one character, and they have to keep rolling it to a different one. Because if they don't use it every 5 years, somebody else can snag the name.
yeah, unless they buy for the rights of the name, like, but they'd have to spend a crap ton of money for a name they're not even
So they
using.
just
The
have to keep
Legion
re-rolling.
has learned to fear
Which is what
you.
happened when they had to sell all the rights to the X-Men and stuff. They had to sell the name
Mm-hmm.
for the movies, which kind of stinks because Marvel almost went bankrupt.
Oh, I know. Yeah, they did.
That's back when the Superman movies were doing good.
I know. Yep.
But Cal Clavin's no longer going to be Superman. I heard that. I saw that.
saw
that
that
he
too.
stepped down. It,
It's kind of a
some-
bummer. I mean,
yeah, and that means Ben Affleck said that he's thinking about
Inquisitors
stepping down now
emerged
too
from
Said that
because of
darkness
that.
and adopt our patrol.
He said that before,
Find
yeah.
he
these
said that
captives
before,
and
that-
spare them from their
Which I
rage.
actually liked him as Superman, and I liked his acting. I liked his version of Superman. It was the best that I had seen in a long time. And I was like,
I think he did a good job. I just don't.
I thought
think
Man of
the
Steel was pretty
story-
good.
Yeah, I think they should have done better with the story. That was the only problem I had, and I don't. think
the
that was
Man of
his-
Steel or the other movie?
The Batman versus Superman.
Batman
Man of Steel
Superman.
wasn't
That was
bad.
horrible.
It was just
Greymane will lead us to
they
victory.
did, the plot was horrible. They should have
Well, the
done
plot-
way better.
The plot is based off of the old original story, which is not a very good story. The reason why they went back to that story with Man of Steel was because it's basically the origin. It's his origin story. It's like
Yeah.
every time you have to see Batman
These
watch his
soldiers
parents
endure.
die. It's not like it's some amazing
Arrive just in
story.
time.
It's kind of, but it's authentic. It's what it was. Kind of like when the Fantastic Four go into space and then they get power cosmic, cosmic radiation.
Yeah.
They had to do it that way, and it always has to start with Zod because
Yeah, he's.
it,
yeah.
it's like not
Yeah.
And Zod's not a great villain for Superman, but he's one of the first that you have to introduce. Kind of. I mean, you don't have to, but there are much better villains, but they're more complex, and you need a better history of the DC universe in the movies before. They'd be like introducing Thanos too early or something, you know, for the Avengers.
Yeah.
You gotta introduce all these minor guys, like the Red Skull.
Yeah, they just... Marvel also had a lot more time, like, put into all their characters.
Oh, they did one character at a time. It was Iron Man that set it up, that made people want to go see the movies.
Yeah, exactly.
If they hadn't done Iron Man first, and if it hadn't been such good acting and such a fun story with a realistic feel to, okay, his suit makes sense. I could see that. They did it a really good way. If they had started with, let's say, Doctor Strange, it would have flopped.
Been horrible.
It would have flopped.
Like, even the one we had today.
Flopped.
Yeah, even the ones we had today, it wouldn't have done good. You know what I mean? It'd have been okay, but it would
at least not
have
initially.
Had the power that it has behind it now, between like, because it's basically a locomotive at this point. Iron Man started the train, and now it's just gonna.
Yeah. People who normally wouldn't be into it all, and DC's been hoping that a movie would do that. Now Wonder Woman kind of did that for them, which is why Justice League had so many people initially go and see it. But Justice League was rushed. They were trying to do their own Avengers. They didn't do it right.
Mm-hmm.
Going back to the Batman versus Superman, they introduced partial stories of two different famous comic book stories. The Death of Superman and Batman versus Superman. And they did both of them, and they meshed them together, and then they add Wonder Woman in it at the very end. And it was stupid. It made little sense. And they made a Lex Luthor that nobody should have wanted. It wasn't a traditional Lex Luthor of any comic book variation. If you want good DC comics, the Rebirth comics that are now out, that have been out for a couple years now, I've been collecting them. I got Nick, the biggest Marvel fanboy, other than yourself, you've ever seen. He knows everything. He has all the comics.
Really?
Oh, he's the biggest Wolverine X-Men fan. He knows everything. He knows every version of X-Men you could imagine. He can spout off all the lore you could ever possibly imagine.
That's awesome.
He's hated DC his whole life. Never liked DC except for the Darkest Knight movies, where he likes the second one. And that's about it. And he likes it because he likes Heath Ledger's Joker, and he likes the story plot for the most part.
Oh, yeah.
I got him to love the DC Rebirth comics. And he told me after reading a couple of them that I let him borrow, he said, why the hell are they not making the DC movies off these stories? Because these are fantastic. And I'm like, I don't know. If they did a Green Lantern based off of the Green Lantern Rebirth comics, and what's great is you could start right off at Rebirth and never have to worry about the past. There's no origin stories. They catch you up to speed of anything that's ever really happened, in a way. It's really, really good. Like, Wonder Woman's story starts right off. Like, one of the cool things they do with Wonder Woman is the very first page you read, I am Diana Troy, my name is Wonder Woman, and I was made of clay, blah, 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 blah. And it tells you, she gives you like a quick overview of that's who I am, that's my origin story. It's just like a quick couple lines. And she goes, or I am Wonder Woman, daughter of blah, 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 and Zeus. And that's one of her other origin stories that's really well known in the comic book history. And then she has like a third one. There's 3 major story arcs of Wonder Woman's history throughout the comic book era, between the Gold and Silver Age and the New 52 Age. And she goes, I don't know which one's the truth. I don't know which ones are the lies. I don't know who I am. And then it starts off with what's going to happen next and how she finds the truth. So you just got like an overview just like that on her. It's really awesome.
That's cool.
Yeah. And then a volume, I go by the $8 to $12, and each volume is like X amount of comic books together in a small volume of like 100 pages or so. And volume 2 of Wonder Story, or so you assume. At the very end, it's a massive twist. Basically, in the comic book history, she's gone back to Themyscira many times.
Mm-hmm.
But in one of the story arcs, she was told by her mother, or in a lot of them, you can never come back here again. But she's gone back so many times. When she finds the truth in this one, she realizes she's never actually gone back home. It was all a lie. It was all fabricated memories in her head.
She never actually went back.
No, she never went back, and she just realizes that all the times that she thought she went back, she really did.
Didn't happen.
But what's cool is because when he does her origin story and she meets the down pilot and she goes back with the down pilot and she becomes the hero that goes back with him, it's similar to the movie story, like very similar. That movie is a lot like Volume 2 of Rebirth. A couple things different. She fights Artemis, which in the comic book she doesn't fight him yet because he's way too powerful for her at this point. But what was I and something else. I don't want to say Greek and Italian, but Greek and another language, Greek and Latin or something. It's a mix between both of them. It's ancient. She can't understand anything any of the Americans are saying when she gets to America, and they can't understand her. And then she has this epiphany, and she grabs her lasso of truth, and she has someone hold it, and they can understand each other, and it helps her learn the English language really fast.
That's really cool.
It is really cool. So through the course of like one of the 5 comic books in that second volume, she learns most of the English language, and she still struggles with things and their whole culture and stuff a lot, but it's really, really cool. And she makes herself out to be a hero right off the bat because she doesn't even know, and her people, she's just a little bit above average for her people. She's never seen a gun. She has no idea that she's so much stronger than normal humans. So, and she doesn't realize that she can like jump and fly and stuff outside of Themyscira, because Themyscira is magically in a magical bubble and it's protecting them, but that magical bubble is also a barrier against their abilities.
So it holds their abilities back while keeping everything else.
Which is why whenever any other Amazon ever leaves and she has to deal with them, they're very strong and powerful like her. Because their powers have been held at bay, because they're basically demigods that spent their time with the gods, the Greek gods, at one point. And but anyway, yeah, she goes to save the pilot at like a mall or something. Somebody is like doing a shooting, and she dives and saves him and a bunch of other people who are falling, and she dives really far, and she can leap like massive distances, and she realizes that when she goes to grab the guy, she can literally just pick him off the ground like nothing and chuck him across the room. And it's like she's sitting there going, oh my gosh, you know, like having an epiphany.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, look what I can do.
They did really good with the new Wonder Woman movie too. Like,
they did. It was a very good story. It was very solid acting.
I think what didn't
and it was
help,
very true to the comic book, except for the end.
Like you were saying, the Batman vs Superman was just, they were trying to make a Justice League movie out of it, and they shouldn't have done that. It was too soon, too many characters, and I think the biggest thing was like the entire city was exploding. And Batman just
Each target we
like,
bring down is another
like,
failure for the Dark Titans crusade.
They did both Batman vs Superman and in Justice League, they did not do Batman the Justice. When Batman, like if you ever, it's not on Netflix anymore. I wish it was, because it's actually one of the best versions of learning DC. Did you ever watch the Justice League and the Justice League Unlimited cartoon series on Netflix?
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
that gave...
I may have bought it and watched it that way.
Okay, so you've seen a lot of that. You know a lot about that.
Yeah.
That's so much. Those stories that are like 2 or 3 episodes a piece. Do you know why a lot of those stories are so good?
Because they took the time to put them together.
Because they took them from the comic books.
Ah.
They took the stories from the comic books and they used them as episodes because they needed to pump out a cartoon show. And they said, hey, instead of writing our own stories, let's use comic book stories that already exist. And that's, but they made them better for little kids, so they're a little less dark.
Yeah.
That's why a lot of those episodes are actually really good episodes.
Yeah,
And
like
do you have Unlimited too?
I'll have to look again.
That's the one with not just the main characters, but every superhero.
Like, yeah, there was tons of them.
They had an episode of Gold Booster and
Yes, he was actually one of my favorites.
oh yeah, he's Booster Gold. I mean, sorry, Connor would get so mad at me if you heard me say that. He's a big DC nut like me, and that TV show as a teenager is what made him love DC.
Well, I mean, I never really cared for DC, but like that cartoon was like awesome.
Well, that
Like, even
cartoon's a
back
lot
then, I
like
like Justice League
the comic
before I
books.
like Marvel because
To victory.
those cartoons were so much better than what Marvel had at the time. The only thing Marvel really had was, I mean, X-Men and Spider-Man. They didn't really have an Avengers cartoon that
Which were
did
great.
well. Oh yeah, I actually have both of those. Yeah.
However, the Batman TV show in the '90s was the best of them all.
Yes, I like Spider-Man a lot more, but you know.
The story and the acting was just
Oh, I think that Batman was awesome. They did such a good job with it.
it won awards.
Did it
The
really?
Batman, yeah, and the Batman cartoon movie won an award too. The
really
and deadly
Phantasm.
Phantasm.
traps slow
Was
our
good,
advance. Deal with
That's
these
awesome.
impediments.
I mean, you had Mark Hamill playing the voice. A lot of people want to see him as
For
the
wait.
next as a Joker.
Oh, he did the Joker's voice?
Yes, for like 15 years.
Wow.
A lot of people consider him the greatest. Like when people go, "Who's the best Joker? Jack Nicholson or
That's right. And
Heath
then
Ledger?
people say
and then Mark Hamill, because his Joker is the iconic Joker that
now that I think about it, yeah, I can hear it. I can hear it. That's
Do
crazy.
not cross nature's guardians.
he played a live action in the Flash TV series, which is horrible because CW is horrible at everything.
Wait, you don't
Um,
like the Flash on CW?
No, because it's
Oh,
it's
wow.
based off the new 52. I've watched like 4 seasons of it, and that and Arrow. I like Arrow more,
I can't watch
but
Arrow.
the whole
I
the
can't
whole
watch
Team
it.
Flash, and all that crap, they went off the new 52 series from the 2000s, and it is just bad story,
Way
and
forward
it's just
is clear.
that's not who the
Our
Flash is,
campaign to
especially
bring down
Barry
the
Allen.
Legion carries on.
I know. It's a whole different take on it, and that's kind of why I like it. It's just
It's
new.
a bad
and
take.
I like it. There's some points where I'm just like, I don't know why they did it that way, but I don't know. I like
It's
the Flash.
cheesy. It's cheesy, and he's nowhere near as fast as he really is, even at the beginning.
I know.
Behold, a vile
There are
menace
parts
I
that I
just
do like.
don't look
Might.
at it as anything
Put an
close to the old
end to
Flash.
its
This is somebody
ambitions.
completely new.
And they kept making his nemesis for each series a speedster for like 4 of the 5 seasons, and it's like there are
I
like
know.
they,
I agree
they
with
made
that.
Captain
That's
Cold and Captain they made Captain Cold.
a good guy.
No, he is. He's an anti-hero
Oh, yeah.
more than he is a villain.
I didn't realize it was
How-
gay, though. That was nice.
Well, the CW is really. If you ever saw Girl on CW, I couldn't even finish the first. I wanted to watch the first
2
season.
episodes. I
Because
got through
the-
2 episodes.
Oh my gosh! Every other thing is wow. It's a man society, and it's so much harder for us to have this position. And it's like this is so not true to facts, but they're pushing it. Nick tried to watch it too. He was trying to give it a chance. Like him and Danielle couldn't even get past like even halfway through the season, and I wanted to. Her acting is the main character's acting
The
is
demon's
great, and some of the
cries of
story was really
failure
good.
ring out across
I couldn't get past some of that crap in it. It was
sound
like
that never grows tiresome.
Yeah. I don't know.
Arrow's my favorite of them all.
The only
and the-
thing I didn't like about Arrow is it just spends 90% of the time in flashbacks on the island, and I'm just like, I'm tired of the island.
Yeah,
Back
I
to the
know.
city.
I know.
I'm just like,
It's
I'm
lazy. It's lazy writing. It's CW lazy writing.
Just get away from the island. How much more of the island can we remember? Like, seriously.
Because now they're stretching. Now they've
There's like-
gone way past whatever
There's
happened
3
on the island in
seasons of
comics.
Island in a 5-season show. That's how I
Oh,
felt. I'm just like, come on.
yeah, yeah.
Like the island is dead. Just move on.
It's my favorite of them all, but the whole Team Arrow, and I mean, Diggle is a part of that, and but the Team Flash, it gets me because the Flash, until he gets Wally West, the regular Wally West who becomes Flash, or Kid Flash, he's much like Batman. He's a loner. He does it all himself. He's an incredible investigator. In fact, Batman says he almost rivals him in investigation, partially because the Flash can think in an attosecond. Not nano, attosecond, which is like
Fast.
a thousandth of a nanosecond. In the comic book, in the Flash comic book, he meets up with, in the Rebirth, he meets up with Batman, and they're discussing the Watchmen movie. They're discussing what happened with the Watchmen. Because all this takes place after the Watchmen and after Dr. Manhattan supposedly blows up part of New York. And they're holding the button that the comedian had with the blood on it. And they're like, something's not right here. We need to solve this. And a section of it, Barry Allen's talking to himself, and he's like, to Bruce, it's only been maybe 45 seconds. But to me, it's been like 2.5 weeks of thinking about this, and I already have the answer. And like 40 seconds later, Batman goes, I'm sorry, Barry, you already know what this is. You've had so much time to think about it. Tell me what it is, before even Batman can figure it out. And whenever Wally and Barry have like conversations and they get all heated or they get all excited, they start speaking in super speed language. And so it's just run-on sentences where there's no spaces in the way they write it. It's so cool.
That's funny.
Yeah. The I guess he's known as one of the greatest artists of all time between Marvel and DC. He's doing all the artwork for Flash and Green Lantern in the Rebirth series.
That's cool.
Nick pointed out to me, I can't remember what Marvel heroes he does, but he's considered the best Marvel artist out there too. And Nick was super surprised when I let him borrow the Flash. He's like, oh my gosh, it's this artist, because the artwork in it's beautiful. Incredible artwork. But
finish this fight.
And that's the Rebirth, you said?
yes, I've liked almost all the Rebirths. I even got Nick to like the Superman. There's 2 versions of the Green Lantern. There's volume 1 through 4 of Green Lantern Hal Jordan, which is my favorite. And then there's one on the 2 new Green Lanterns. They're not new. They came out in the New 52. But Jessica Cruz and Simon Baz. And they're the newest Green Lanterns in the Green Lantern Corps. And it's cool because in the very first episode, Simon Baz has been a Green Lantern for like a month or so. And he's gone to OA and he's done all his initiating and training. He always carries a sidearm on him because he doesn't feel comfortable or secure in his ring's powers and his abilities. So he sticks to his gun as like a backup.
Yeah.
Right. He's got his issues as a new recruit. And then Jessica Cruz, who is a shut-in, and she's what are people who are afraid of being out around other people? They have like panic attacks and stuff.
Oh yeah. Not claustrophobic.
What is it?
It's not claustrophobic.
Agoraphobia. She has agoraphobia. And so she's just a household shut-in, and she becomes a Green Lantern, and she hasn't even done her training. She can't even go to OA because
she's nervous.
The Rebirth starts off with the New 50 and ended with Darkest Days, Brightest Nights, which is one of the greatest Green Lantern comics ever. And OA has been destroyed, and the Green Lantern seem to have been wiped out. And in the first Hal Jordan, the very first part, he wills himself back into existence almost from will energy. Well, because at this point, he's super powerful, and he's using his willpower to keep himself there, and he wills himself a ring made out of willpower instead of the Guardians forging one. He's the first Lantern to ever do that.
Really?
So he's super powerful in the Hal Jordan Green Lantern one. It's like Hal Jordan at his peak. And then he shows up at the very beginning of the other one, because Simon Baz is trying to get a hold of Green Lanterns, and Hal Jordan comes, and he goes, I'm going off to find John Stewart and Guy Gardner. I don't know where any of them are. They seem to have, like, been erased from existence or something. I don't know what's going on. And And so he hears the two of them talking, and Simon Baz, why am I stuck with this recruit? She shouldn't even be a Green Lantern. She doesn't know anything. And she's like, he's right. I don't know what I'm doing. Why am I a Green Lantern? I'm not a hero. I'm not brave and all this stuff. And Hal Jordan's like, I don't have time for this. He took both of their ring batteries and smashed them and fused them together. And he goes, you're stuck together as Green Lanterns now. So they're forced to work as a team because they have to share a lantern battery.
Oh, that's hilarious.
So their whole series, they deal with that, and they become more and more powerful. And it's actually really good. It's not as good because I just love Hal Jordan, especially since the Hal Jordan also has Jon Stewart and Guy Gardner all through it. And Guy Gardner is hilarious, but I've got a lot of them. I've got the Titans. The Titans is very good. Volume 2 of the Titans, probably one of the best ones I've read yet.
Oh, really?
The Justice League ones are subpar. They're probably the least good of all of them. But there's an overarching story, or underarching story, to every single one of them. They all correspond with one another. But I've got a lot of them. I've got like Red Hood Volume 1 and 2, all the Flash, or a bunch of the Flash ones. Aquaman Volume 1 and 2 is awesome. Absolutely awesome.
I only have a few comic books, and it's mainly Spider-Man. I have a couple Captain Marvel ones, but for the most part, it's Spider-Man. I have one Deadpool and Spider-Man that I just got, but I'm waiting till I have surgery to read it. That's going to be my, I can't do a dang thing. I'm going to sit here and read. So I'm saving that for then.
Well, let's see. I've got a couple right in front of me that I just read. I actually got all 3 of the Green Arrows because if they got a little yellow dot on them, they've been used and they're on sale usually for like $6. And they're not like a small comic book; they're thick. Some of them are thicker than others. But
yeah, where it's almost like a couple of the issues are all together instead of.
Help them find
right. It's each volume has
volumes.
between 5 and 7 comic books in it all
Depending
together.
on which one.
I'm posting it to your Discord right now from my phone. Hold on. I've read a lot of people borrow these, and so far everyone who's borrowed these, and a lot of these guys are actually more Marvel than DC, but so far everyone's really liked them. There you go. I just posted what they cover some, and the different artists for different ones. It's crazy. It's not just one writer. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 writers for the Superman. Writers and artists together.
Perhaps then
Yeah.
That's really cool when they do that. They actually come together.
Well, they got overall what it is was with the Rebirth. They wanted to do something better. They wanted to make their comics good. So they have a main director and a secondary director for the overall story of all the Rebirth comics. And then you got the director or the writer of just that, like the Superman or the Green Arrow and whatnot. See how thick they are? That Green Arrow one that I'm holding and that Superman one were like $6 and something because they were used.
Oh, wow. I just got something that maybe is twice that size, and it was like $35.
Yeah.
Brand
Usually, if you get them at
Light
Bull Moose
and
brand new,
shadow
they're
are
between
both
$11 and
things to
$14, depending how thick they
For
are.
the
The
foe before
Aquamans are really
Feel
thick.
free to pick whatever weapon you
In fact, one of my Aquamans is almost twice as thick as that. The first one, it's like 1.5 times as thick. And yeah.
So, when you were talking about the Wonder Woman, was that part of the Rebirth?
Yeah, that's all. Yeah, it's all Rebirth. I've got I think I've got almost 30 comic books now. I collect them
seems you have
each
chosen
volume
your
comes out
as have I.
I think it's been. They still haven't come out with a Shazam yet. They're waiting for Shazam and a couple other characters. Some of them are only on volume 2 or 3 at the moment. Some are all the way up to volume 5 or 6. Flash is up at volume 6 now. I have up to volume 3. Only because I've gotten behind on him. But it's been about 2.5 years since they started coming out. Almost 3 years since they started coming out. So it takes like 6-7 months for the next volume to come out for each of them. So if there's a certain, like let's say you want to collect the Hal Jordan Green Lanterns, you know, next time you're at Bull Moose, check them out. The one in Lewiston sucks. They almost never have anything.
I
The
was
one
just
in-
at the Portland one.
The Portland one and the Brunswick one are excellent for that. And the Rebirths all have that thing on the top. They all say DC Universe Rebirth on the top with the blue and black stripes across, and then the name of the comic. There's 2 versions of Batman. There's there's Detective Comic Batman, which pays homage to the old Batman Detective Comics from the 1940s. And then the other Batman one. Same with Superman and Action Comics Superman. And then I think Wonder Woman has... No, somebody else has 2 types. But anyway, and they all go together. They're not completely separate stories. Like, both of the Batmans are 2 different things happening to them at the same time. And every Rebirth is in the same universe, happening all at the same time. They all have events that all interact with each other, and the heroes every once in a while interact with each other. So, like, you might have like a Superman episode, comic book we read through, and he interacts with Aquaman, and his interaction with Aquaman is something after what happened in Volume 1, and it will say on the very bottom, see Volume 1 Aquaman for more details of what they're talking about if you want to know. Otherwise, it's not a huge deal.
Yeah.
So it's cool.
It's like you can follow along, but to get more.
So and you can read them in any order, or you can read Volume 1 in any order, Volume 2 in any order, and then Volume 3 in any order. Because they do Volume 1 of each of them, then Volume 2 of each of them. You know, it's really well done so far. And the artwork in them is excellent. At the very end of most of the comics, they do variant drawings of different artists that tried out for the part of getting the artwork.
Really?
So you'll see different versions of like Superman or Batman or whatever the comic is. The Superman one that I'm reading right now that I just sent you the picture of. There's a whole story, it doesn't really matter, but what happens is Supermen from all the different universes get forced onto the same planet. So the first one he runs into is the Russian version Superman with the Russian flag symbol on his chest instead of the S. And he's like, I had to come find you, I barely made it myself, he's coming for us. And he's gonna kill all of us. From every universe. So it's crazy.
Is it Zod?
No, it's way... I don't know who it is yet.
Oh.
Bring me samples of their scales. Perhaps I can devise a deterrent.
They've got almost everyone so far. They got a Batgirl one. They got a Nightwing is awesome. Nick has Nightwing. I read Volume 1 and 2 of Nightwing. That's a really good one.
I really like Nightwing.
He's really good in these. Red Hood. I don't know if you know who Red Hood is.
Isn't it the first, like, Robin?
The first
became
Robin.
bad, like,
Nope.
anti-Harry?
No, you're right and wrong. The first Robin is Dick Grayson. He becomes Nightwing.
Oh, okay.
And that's why he's older than the rest. The second Robin is Red Hood. That's Jason Todd. Jason Todd in the 70s or 80s, I think it was the 80s, people got so fed up with the second Robin because he was annoying that DC had a vote and people could write in their vote of what they wanted him to do, and everyone said kill him. That was the majority of the vote. So they came up with, not the Killing Joke, they came up with the Red Hood. If you ever watched the cartoon movie, it's amazing.
Yes, I did, but I can barely remember what happened. Didn't like the
You remember the
something?
yeah, the Joker's like, what hurts more, A? And he hits him with a crowbar across the face, or B? And he hits him again. And then he blows him up. And Ra's al Ghul, or Randall Savage, one of the two, tries to make amends with Batman because he's done being his nemesis. He just wants to live life and fix the problems he's caused. He decides Ra's al Ghul, he puts him in the Lazarus pit and brings him back to life, which is always a bad thing. But he views it good for Batman because Batman's already edgy and he thinks he can handle it. Well, it messes up Jason Todd a little bit. And he's haunted by what happened to him by the Joker. And he has a very Punisher-like mentality where he thinks that the Batman has
Oh,
failed.
that's right. Yeah, like you could have stopped him if you had killed him.
Yeah, he
That's
goes,
all
if
you
you
had
had
to do.
all you had to do is kill him, and then I wouldn't have died, and hundreds of other people wouldn't die.
Yeah. You
Batgirl
could
wouldn't have
stop
been
him
raped
now.
and paralyzed.
Oh,
from
is
the
that what
killing-
happened to her?
Yeah, if you ever read The Killing Joke or watch
Oh,
The Killing
that's
Joke movie.
right. I kind of remember that, and then she becomes like
Oracle.
Yeah, the Oracle. Thank you. That was the name.
Yes. She becomes
But
Oracle for
she-
Batman and the Justice League.
But she does go back to Batgirl somehow, doesn't she?
Yes, the new version of Rebirth erases what happens to her as Oracle,
Hmm.
which is nice. And then there's Batwoman, who they recently made a lesbian because they felt they needed her. They needed a lesbian
Well,
superhero,
yes, they always do.
right? Which is fine because she's cool in her own rights, in her own way, and she's
No.
Batman's cousin.
No.
She's cool. One of the versions, there's two Batman comic books. One's mostly just about Batman.
Mhm.
The other one's more about Red Robin, Batwoman, Batgirl, Nightwing, all them.
Red Robin.
Red Robin's the third Robin, by the way. He was the third Robin. That is, oh crap, what's his name? Damian Wayne's the newest Robin, and that's actually Batman's real son with Talia al Ghul. And he was brought up by Ra's al Ghul, and then at 12 years old was given to Batman to, because Talia said, I don't want him to take after being what my father was. I want him to be more like you. Because Batman and Talia aren't together anymore, but they have a son together, and he's like, what am I supposed to do? And he goes, you know what to do with him. So he's the new Robin, and he clashes with Superboy because they're the same age and they hate each other. And he's got kind of a psychopathic streak. He has these moments where he goes on an anger, murderous rampage, kind of, and Batman has to stop him and train him and teach him. And he's really young. But the third Robin, when he's now like 19 or 20 or something, and he just graduated high school, and he's brilliant. He's a genius, basically. And Batman's very proud of him, and he's going to college, and he wants to carry on the title of Robin as an adult. So unlike Nightwing, he becomes Red Robin. And he's in the Teen Titans, and the Titans, who used to be the Teen Titans, like Wally West and Dick Grayson, who becomes Nightwing, they're the Titans now, and they're like another version of the Justice League. It's really good.
Miserable wretches, the hour of doom is
I'm not
at
sure about
hand.
this new
Finish
TV
this
show
fight.
they're making of the Titans.
They're gonna ruin it.
Oh, good. So we're on the same page.
Yeah, they're gonna
Who's making
absolutely ruin
anyways?
it.
It's not CW, is it?
Yeah,
Please tell
if
me.
it's CW, then yeah, it's already ruined.
Aw, too soon.
Well done, champions. News of this victory will spread throughout
yeah.
the dark beyond.
Some of the comic books I got, I was like, this doesn't look overly exciting to me. I don't those. And like the one with like the Red Hood and the Titans. I got the Titans just because I was like, I don't know what to get, and it was like $11 or $12, and then I got like I read it and I was like, wow, that was way better than the Justice League. The Justice League one was bad. Or not bad, but it just wasn't good. I have like the first three.
Yeah, what you wanted.
And then I bought the second Titans because I was like, okay, the first one's good and the second one was amazing. Basically, the Titans in the second one, at the very beginning, something crazy happens and they all wake up in some kind of a facility with no doors, no way out. It just goes in a giant circle, and it's really thick that even like really strong heroes can't get through, like
Superboy.
Wonder Girl.
Oh, yeah.
And then all of a sudden they run into the Justice League members. Same thing happens. They're counterparts. So you got Wally West and Barry Allen, Flash. You've got Nightwing and Batman. You got Wonder Girl and Wonder Woman. You got Aqualad and Aquaman. Now at this point, the Titans are adults. They're all in their mid to late 20s. They're not teenagers anymore. They were under the tutelage of their, their hero counterparts for years and years and years, and they went on their own for years and years and have proven themselves over years. However, somebody's watching them the whole time, and they're getting on each other's nerves because Batman doesn't trust anyone, and Nightwing goes to talk to him, and he goes, I don't even know if you're the real Nightwing. And he goes, really, Batman? and he tries to prove himself to him with things only they would know, and he goes, anybody could know anything about us. And he's like, oh my gosh, right? Can't work with him. Aqualad is being treated like a subservient because Aquaman is the king of Atlantis, and Aqualad is just one of his soldiers. And he still treats him like he's Aqualad, not what he is now. Because he changes his name. I can't remember what his name is as an adult. But Barry Allen pulls Wally West aside and he goes, Wally, when I was gone in the Speed Force and I was erased from time before you were erased from time, which is in the first Flash, by the way, he goes, you were the Flash for years. You filled the mantle of Flash, and we're all speedsters and we're all Flashes. He goes, you're my equal. And it's the two of them that do the best at binding everyone together. It's amazing. And then you hear Wonder Girl, Donna Troy. Her and Wonder Woman are having a meltdown because everybody's trying to figure out who the person in the group is that's not who they say they are.
There's one person who's not.
So Batman finally finds a way to scan everyone, or Cyborg, somebody finds a way to scan everyone, and they realize, and the whole time Wonder Woman's being the biggest bitch to Donna Troy. And she can't figure out why, and it's because she's protecting her. Because she's not human. And one of Wonder Woman's backstories that was a lie was that she was made of clay. Well, that's because she finds out Donna Troy was made of clay, and that's her backstory. It's awesome. Really, really, really awesome. They did a phenomenal job with the rebirth. It's like they did all their history, all the comics, and then brilliantly put them together in a story that you could just start from scratch or pick up from where you left off.
The way you and your allies persevered is an inspiration to our forces. Proof that together we can save Azeroth.
I've been talking for such a long time. I've been running back and forth in the city. I haven't been doing anything.
Have you really?
Yep.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
And this whole time Nate's been quiet. Because I talk too much.
He's just soaking it all in.
No, I don't think Nate...
Those pants are so much better.
I don't think Nate cares about DC Comics.
We do. That's the important part.
He could have borrowed them and read them at any time. He's just not into it.
I might have to borrow them here in a couple of weeks.
More than welcome to. As long as I get them back in good condition. I've let a lot of people borrow them. Oh. I keep them in plastic bags.
I'll make
plastic.
Sure
light and shadow are both means to an end.
The same thing with me.
For the foe before you.
Some of them aren't in amazing condition, and that's because I bought them used for half price. I try to buy the ones used that I don't think I'll care about the stories as much, and like one of them I bought used was like, oh, the story's amazing, and it's not perfect condition. It's one thing if someone opens them up and the edges get slightly frayed because they've been read like 15 times. That's fine.
You have to. They're gonna get a little bit anyways, but like.
I don't freak out about that. It's when somebody half rips the cover or gets water on it. It's like.
Ooh. Oh, the water bugs me the most.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't mind a crease in the corner where they've opened it up, as long as it's not some massive crease where it won't close if you put it down.
Yeah.
But my favorite
be respectful. It's somebody else's. I get it.
My favorite heroes in the DC universe are Green Lantern and Flash.
Yep.
And my favorite comic book is Hal Jordan Green Lantern. I love it so much because he goes toe to toe with Sinestro right in the first one. And you've never seen Hal Jordan more powerful. And then right in the second one, Kyle Rayner comes in as the White Lantern, and it's like absolutely awesome. And the plot thickens.
Lantern, huh?
Oh yeah, I've got the first 4 or 5 volumes of Hal Jordan, but I can't find my first 2 volumes of the Green Lanterns and the first 2 volumes of Green Lantern Hal Jordan. I don't know where they are. I think someone borrowed them, and I never got them back.
That sucks.
So I can never let anyone borrow them, and they're my favorite one.
You can't share in the joy, can you?
I might do that. Hold on. I'm gonna get off, guys, here in a second, but Next time you're at Bull Moose down in Portland or Brunswick's got a good one too. They have a whole section. All the rebirths have that same rebirth at the top of them.
Okay, I'll look for that.
They don't always. They always have different selections. But if you go to like Newberry or anything, you're gonna pay 18 to 26 bucks for it.
Yeah, Newberry's ridiculous.
Yeah, they're overpriced. So I never thought I'd collect comic books, but I'm absolutely loving this collection. I hope someday my son will read them all. When he's like 8, I'll probably try to read them all to him. Alright guys, I'm getting off for the night.
Alright, have a good night.
Sorry I talk so much, Nate.
That's alright. Good night.
You hate me.
I do.
Aw.
Well, at least he can tell you to your face.
Some 5-man dungeons tomorrow night, guys?
Yeah.
Sure. What time?
Alright.
Same old time?
After 7, 7:30, 8 o'clock maybe.
Sounds good.
Alright, good night.
Night.
That is one less arrow in their quiver. Perhaps I can find a use for these crystals that will benefit our cause.
All the world quests done in Argus. Wow, wow, wow. What are you doing right now?
I'm doing a well, silly little world quest in Freehold dungeon. Just to finish off my rep. It's the only quest I have left.
Oh, really?
So yeah, and I only need 75 more rep to finish Revere down Proudmoore. So whoops. Oh, I just fell in a hole.
Oh no, not a hole. Is there any good world quest right now? That will give me about the same. And that's the same. Yeah, I think I'm gonna log off for a little while. My knee is starting to hurt.
Alright. See you later.
Take it easy.